started to see some of the success you were having as a trainer and as a coach. And at that time, you know, it wasn't everybody was jumping into the fitness industry. It wasn't like everybody was, hey, I'm going to be a strength coach and I'm going to like make some money and I'm going to train people independently. But that's what you were doing, and you were kind of the go-to guy. I think I remember I can't remember if it was a phone call or just exchanges back and forth long before I ever had super training.
Yeah, we talked on the phone long before that.
Yeah, some exchanges, and you were like, well, this is kind of how it works. I charge people, and this is, you know, how I do some of these things. I guess first of all, like, how did you kind of get into some of that?
Yeah, so I was, same thing as you, we're 2 years apart. I grew up watching Stallone and Schwarzenegger and The Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan and everybody, you know, so I was like, man, I want to be like those guys, and I was just this skinny, fat kind of dweeb, you know, and so my cousin Christine in 1987 was dating a dude named Eric Weeda. He was a pro wrestler, not with WWF, it was some other small federation, but this dude was 6'4", 250, jacked out of his mind.
The East Coast, for some reason, too, is full of people like that.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up with, like, at least 20 or 30 people around that were like that.
Right. And he had, like, the, you know, like a shaved mullet type of deal going, yeah. And so he got me into training, and that was just
personal training or
no, like, he just wrote me a workout and a diet, and I was just this chubby little weakling, you know, and I started doing that. And then I just became obsessed with it. So I continued to read more stuff. You remember back then, like, you couldn't, there's no internet or anything. So the back of Iron Man magazine would have all those books you could order. So I started ordering a bunch of old books, like, you know, like Super Squats and John McCallum and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And just became
some
obsessed.
of the old school stuff.
Yeah, even like Hackenschmidt and Saxon and all that. And I really became obsessed with it. And then so I went into college as a communications major, which looking back was kind of delusional because I wanted to either like be on Sports Center or like host a radio show, but back then I was so insecure I barely said a word, so it was a waste.
Didn't make any sense.
Yeah. So, and then I started interning in the weight room. Like I was just hooked. I interned in the weight room, and then sophomore and junior year of school, I got super sick. I had to transfer home, and I was on bed. I actually got tuberculosis, which I didn't think anyone since Doc Holliday got that. So I had to be in bed. I was in the hospital for a week, and the doctor said if I didn't come that day, and they drained like a pint of fluid out of my lungs, he said if you waited till tomorrow, you would have drowned. Your lungs would have filled up. Wow. Yeah, so I go home, and I had to take like 15 pills for a year that turned my piss like fire engine red. But anyway, during that time when I was home, I got my first personal trainer certification. Later that summer, I started training people, just bouncing around to like their houses, and I was charging $20 an hour, you know, and for whatever reason, and I didn't really know anything about business, and I wasn't even that good of a trainer at the beginning, but it kind of just grew kind of rapidly. I had good luck at the beginning, and then by the end of that summer, I was actually on pace to make 6 figures when I was like 19. So I transferred back home, went to Seton Hall, and I started running the business, and it just kept growing and growing and growing, and 2 years later, I saved up the money from bouncing around different people's houses to rent some small space. It was literally underground. We talked about underground gyms. It was in a basement.
Right.
It's 1,000 square feet. And I knew that I was like, man, I really want to train athletes and like young guys who want to clang and bang and get after it and go hard. So just the other day, we were in the city and we met up with Mike Schwab, who at that time was 12 years old, and he was my first athlete client. He's now 36. So 24 years ago, I started training Mike. He's still like a little brother to me, which is super cool to see, you know?
That's great.
Mike came in, he was a really good wrestler, he was a really good football player, and started training him, and by that time I was like into some West Side stuff, and like Anthony DiTillo, like some 70s powerlifting, right. Bill Starr, like all that stuff. So I was still experimenting and finding out what worked and trying all this stuff, and Mike was getting great results. And again, back then it was like you either go to like Bally's and do like a bodybuilding workout, right. Or it wasn't today where every corner has like a hardcore warehouse style gym or a CrossFit. You know, there's none of that.
A lot of squat racks and sleds and places do battle ropes and kettlebells.
Yeah, and nobody had that.
That's what we have now.
Yeah. So in 1996 was when I opened up the facility. There was a book called Dinosaur Training, which I'm sure yeah. Brooks Cubic, and he was the first guy that introduced me to all the stuff you just mentioned: sleds, ropes, sandbags, tires. And so you couldn't get it. Like there was no rope. You couldn't go on and order it. So in New York and Jersey, like you had to know a guy who knew a guy, and you could like go to the docks where the boats come in and get. There was ropes. We made our own sandbags. We would get anvils from places. You'd have to go to a liquor store and beg the guys like, yo, can I buy an empty keg, and then like figure out a way to like seal it up and shit. So, well, back to Mike. Mike was getting such great results that he referred me like 3 other friends who were superstar athletes, and then within probably 2 or 3 months, they all wanted to start training together. So I started training them together, and nobody was doing group training at the time. And I was like, well, let's just train them together, and then I'll make it half of what the adult rate is. And that was how I kind of came up with this system. And then before long, I would have, after school every day, I would have 50 to 70 high school kids coming in and training in groups of like 8 to 12 until 7 at night. And then I would train with a group of guys our age. Well, you know, back then I was way younger, but anywhere between like 28 and 50, I would have this group of like 12 guys our age who used to train, and that was my life for like 12 years straight, just doing that kind of stuff. And I think I remember the first time like a big sports-specific facility opened up like a mile away, and I was like, oh shit, this is gonna crush us. And it absolutely did nothing for my business, because I had every single school within like, I don't know how many mile radius. I had the rushing leader, like all kinds of record holders, and people just, that place struggled to make money, but we were just killing it there. It was awesome.